Hello, my name is Woody. This is Changing the House of Pods, a podcast about Deftones. Today, my guest is Aaron Durst. Aaron is nothing short of a Deftones superfan, and he's got a lot of passionate things to say about them. But before we get into this conversation, I want to address a couple timely matters. A little housekeeping here. First, this episode is out early. Well, that's because I get to see my favorite band tomorrow in Milwaukee for the first time since 2019. And then I'm going to see them again on Saturday here in Minneapolis. And I'll be honest, it's a holiday weekend, and I could use a break. So I'm going to take the next week off and bring the podcast back for the second half, or third, of Season 3 on Friday the 10th of June. Just a little pause before the home stretch, and then we'll pick it up again on the 10th. The next thing I want to address briefly is the uncharacteristically quasi-official announcement that Steph wasn't going to travel outside of the States to perform. First, I want to acknowledge that fans outside the U.S. are super bummed, and they have every right to be. It's a major bummer. But I also want to say, to me, this feels like the right decision to keep Deftones going. Like, to keep the machine rolling, they got to leave Steph behind. And if I'm being honest, while the video itself was a little surprising, the message was not. I thought it was clear from the moment we saw Lance Jackman on stage, he was going to be the guy to step in for Steph when Deftones traveled abroad. And how dope is it that they asked Lance, one of their hometown homies? Although it doesn't look like he's going to try to play the cute little keyboard Steph gets out for Beware. But again, if you're upset, I get it. At the same time, I think we should also take comfort in the fact that Steph didn't say, like, hey, you can't perform without me, right? Like, he could have said, no Deftones without Stefftones. That would have been a problem. It's easy to see how you get upset or confused in light of the changes that have happened over the past few months and the excitement over their return to touring, but I would encourage you to, rather than be doubtful, be optimistic over the future of Deftones and fucking drink in the brilliance they're serving up right now. And on the topic of brilliance, the last thing I want to mention before we start, did you see Donald Glover pull out a Deftones shirt in the season finale of Atlanta last week? Holy shit, Childish Gambino likes Deftones. I mean, obviously he does. He appreciates art. Of course he appreciates Deftones. But to see that happen on a show I watch, a show from a brilliant young artist, a star, wow, just so cool. Okay, Aaron Durst, you are going to hear some bold-ass shit in this conversation. Aaron says bold shit. Like, he's going to say some stuff, and you're going to be like, word? Like, shit that makes me want to say, the views and opinions expressed herein do not represent those of the podcast, but man, Aaron loves Deftones, and he has some strong feelings about them. He's also had some fun interactions with the band, both directly and indirect, and he's got a pretty great memory about the band's history. We're going to start, though, with more recent history, his initial response to Ohms. This is my conversation with Deftones superfan Aaron Durst.
Yeah, man, well, it's just weird, though, because I'll tell you this, off the first 20 listens, I did not get it. I was like, what is going on here? I was so confused. Oh, wow. And that never happens for me, dude. You know, usually hearing a Deftones album for the first time, I'm like, this is the shit. You know, of course, they did it again. Yeah, but this time around, it was like 20 or 30 listens in. And I was like, dude, what am I hearing here? Like, because I guess I thought, I don't know, maybe my ears are bad these days. But like, I was hearing Stefan's guitar thinking that's the bass. That's Sergio. But it's not. That's just Stefan's loud, chunky fucking 9-string guitar. I'm like, dude, you got so many strings now. It just sounds like a fucking bass, man. Like, come on, dude. You know, but yeah.
So what clicked then?
I think just repeat listens. I mean, the night I got it, which was before it came out, I mean, I listened to it 15 times in a row. I mean, this was at 3:00 in the morning when I had to be at work the next day. And like, I just did it anyway. I was like, fuck it, dude. I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to this until it clicks. And that's what I did. Yeah, I sat and I texted my buddy when I got the leak, and I was like, dude, this is the weirdest album they've ever made. I don't really get what I'm hearing right now. And he was like, huh? Like, what do you mean you don't get it? You know, because I mean, dude, I've been a Deftones fan for 20 some odd years. Like, I mean, usually at first listen, it's just like, you know, this is the greatest thing they've ever done. As always, you know, they always kind of top themselves. So I don't know. It was definitely weird, but I think just repeat listening and finally realizing that what I was hearing wasn't the bass, it was Stefan's stupid 9-string guitar. I'm like, dude, I've always, you know, like when he went to 7, I was like, all right, that's cool. When we went to 8, I was like, all right, that's cool. And then they brought up the 9-string, and I'm like, how many more strings are you going to add, dude? Like, you're just playing the same riffs that you played 20 years ago, but you're just adding more strings. Like, at a certain point, you got to maybe try to beef up your skills and stop adding so much. I want to talk like, I love Stefan, but dude, he is the highest motherfucker ever.
Nah.
He's like, I'm so high that I'm just going to write the same riff with more strings. And like, you guys are going to accept that as being the shit. And it is the shit. I mean, there's no doubt about it. That dude, though, his riffs are so simple and they repeat themselves a lot. But you know what? They're good. They're just good, man.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's really weird. I mean, they talk about that themselves all the time. He's talked about it plenty of times. He's like, I'm just doing the same thing in a different spot or with a different.
That's exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you go back to some of those riffs, I mean, the Be Quiet and Drive riff and the Minerva riff are literally the same riff, dude. Like, it's the same chord, just a different place on the guitar, slightly different rhythm. Like, it's the same song, though.
I still think there's got to be an element of like them selling themselves short a little bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the riff might be the same or however you want to put it, but like the way that they use it has changed, and the way that they've produced it has changed. Like there's the way that they compose song structures is way more sophisticated.
Yeah. The songwriting. I mean, I've had this conversation with my two good friends that have both been Deftones fans for a long time, and we really both feel that, like, the song structures and changing really evolved a lot when Sergio joined the band. Coming from Quicksand, he was going to bring a more technical side of it, like a more structured, like not falling into the same songwriting pattern type thing. And I think that's why Diamond Eyes did so well, is because for one, it's a very uplifting album coming after Saturday Night Wrist, which is a very dark album, probably one of the darkest times for the band, and then they lost Chi. And to come out of that with another dark record would have been a really poor decision. And I think they knew that. And I don't think they wanted that. I think they wanted to make an uplifting, we're proud to be here. We're still happy to be making music 30 years later, like we're very stoked on it. And Diamond Eyes, I mean, look at it. It was like the revamp of their career, dude. I mean, it was like White Pony too, I mean, in a lot of ways, it didn't get the critical acclaim that White Pony did, but it put them back on the, back in the mainstream radio rock, whatever you want to call it. I don't listen to radio, but that might be an insult because I know you work for a radio station, but
only a little bit. No, but I hear what you're saying. And I was thinking about this myself because they just celebrated or, tweeted out, like it wasn't even like a specific date that they were acknowledging the 10th anniversary or the 11th anniversary of the release of Rocket Skates.
Yeah.
The video, but they were just like, yeah, sometime in March of 2010, we put this out. But it got me thinking about that time and what you're saying. It was totally a rebirth. And until I heard Rocket Skates, like a lot was in question. Like you didn't really know. And
didn't know what was going to happen.
You didn't know what was going to happen. And then they came back out. And they came out swinging, and you know what I mean? Like
that record, I mean, that song itself swings hard, dude. Like, I mean, and it's weird, like I love that song when it came out. Now it's kind of fallen further. I think that happens for me a lot of times. I'll bump a song 450 times before I get another song, and then I've listened to it so much that when the record does come out, I never go back to it. Leathers, same thing happened. I heard, dude, I drove around delivering pizzas, listening to Leathers on repeat for fucking 3 weeks, dude. And then like now when I listen to Koino Yokon, I skip that song. It's bad taste. Like, but they also don't play it live. They did it once and then they never played it again. So I'm like, well, they're not going to play it again. That's just, I know how they do. They don't, they don't change up the set list enough to, they're like, no, we tried it once. Chino couldn't do it. We're not going to do it. Unless you call them out like Roman did.
Right. Yeah. They'll definitely take a challenge.
Then they'll take on your challenge. They're like, oh, okay. You want to call me out to my face on it? All right. Well, fuck you. Then we'll play it.
I know. I love that. I love that so much.
That's exactly what that was. That was like, Chino was like, Chino was like, oh, you think I can't play that? Fuck that. We playing that shit tonight, dog.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. I think that's like one of the coolest things about this band and about that story is just like he was like, no,
dude. The thing is, I got my own versions and they didn't meet my request, dog.
No, they didn't.
I walked up to them on I think it was it was Diamond Eyes tour 2010. It was my first meeting encounter with the Deftones. I got VIP meet and greets, which they did on the 2 Diamond Eyes tours. And I walked right up to them, skipped over. It was Frank, Chino, Sergio, or no, Abe and then Sergio and Stefan at the end, the two potheads. And I mean, dude, their whole side of the table just reeked like the most chronic weed you've ever smelled in your life. But anyhow, I skipped right over Frank and walked right to Chino and said, why don't the first thing out of my mouth, like, not like you guys are my favorite band, I love you, I've been listening to you for 20 years, like, thank you. No, the first thing out of my mouth was, why don't you play more songs from the self-titled record? And Frank looks at me like he just wants to fucking murder me, dude. He looks at me with this look on his face like, Jesus Christ, I can't believe you just asked that question right now. And Chino was like, I mean, I knew what his answer was because his answer is always the same and he never changes his answers. Well, we got a new record out. We're promoting that. The song, we only have so many songs we can play in one night. We got to make everybody happy. Guess how many songs they played from the self-titled record that night?
Zero. I'm looking. I got my set list on the wall. I'm trying to see if
self-titled, nothing. My buddy Kip, it was his first Deftones show. He was like, self-titled and The Wrist are my favorite records. They didn't play anything from those two albums that night, dude. He was heartbroken. He wanted to cry when we left.
When I saw that show, did the meet and greet and all that, they gave away the set list, the signed set list.
I've got mine right above me.
I got to see from self-titled. I got to see Minerva and Bloody Cape. Oh, Hexagram, a 3-song run. Hexagram, Minerva, and Bloody Cape.
Yeah, they did that. That was on the 11 tour because I have the same set list right here, and those 3 songs are in order too.
Oh man.
Yeah, dude, I've got.
What a 3-song stretch to put in a show.
Well, see, here's the thing, though, dude. And I guess when you're a fan, I mean, I'm assuming you've been a fan for a really long time. You've seen them a lot. I've seen them a lot. I don't care about those 3 songs anymore, dude. Minerva, Hexagram, and Bloody Cape are like off my want to see live list. I've seen them so many times that I'm like, play a different song from that record. Play Death Blow, play Good Morning Beautiful, play Mona. Mona's one of my favorite songs, dude. They've played it once live, maybe in their whole career,
Right. Yeah, no, I totally
that's just
agree.
how they do. And like, while they are my favorite band, I tend to like shit on them because I'm like, dude, I've seen you guys, I don't know, 15 or 16 times now. I'm like, I want different songs. There was a point when I wanted to see Passenger live. Now I've seen it like 6 times. I'm like, dude, play Pink Maggot instead or something, I mean, I've seen every song from White Pony except for Pink Maggot now. So,
well, you're gonna have a whole bunch of new songs, hopefully, to see in September or August.
Well, I mean, seeing these songs, that's what's most important to me. I'm like, when it comes to seeing My Own Summer for the 18th time, you're like, whatever, dude, I don't give a fuck. But when it, I want to see new songs, and then I just want to see the set list change and put songs in they don't normally play. That's what I want.
Well, what do you want to hear from the new album?
Dude, the whole thing, man. Like, honestly, 10 songs, like it. My only complaint with the record is it's too short. I love that it's solid it's 10 solid songs. There's no filler, there's no bullshit, there's no instrumental track, there's no guest features. I love that. I love the fact that they put Stefan back at the forefront and that he was kind of the main songwriter, quote unquote, on this album, or like the start of the songwriting. I think it helped a lot. Like, I think it kind of brought the focus back to being more of a guitar band and less of a, whatever else kind of band they are. I mean, when Stefan's the one doing the majority of the writing, the songs tend to be better, I feel like, I mean, it's nothing against Chino. I love Gore. I love the stuff him and Sergio wrote together. Obviously, I love all Chino's side projects. But when Stefan is writing, that's when the music feels to me most like Deftones, I mean,
yeah. Do you listen to any of his other projects?
Who?
Stefan.
I mean, he doesn't.
Like he's got Soul Invicto.
He has Soul Invicto, and I've heard that and talked to Richie a bunch over the internet and stuff, and they're very cool guys. But now they're, it seems to me like Stefan came out with this flat Earth thing, and Richie kind of took off with it too. And like, I'm like, sure, if you want to believe the earth is flat, that's cool, but you're just high as shit, dude. Like,
you know what though? I am really tired of people throwing weed under the bus for him believing the earth is flat. I smoke plenty of weed, and I've never thought such a ridiculous thing.
No, I smoke weed all day, every day, have for 20 years, man. And like, no, I just think he's high as shit. Like, he got so high at one point, somebody was like, the earth is flat, and it clicked in his mind, and he's just like, all right, yeah, okay. But like, no, I give him shit for it, but it's like, dude, I don't care what he personally believes. I'm like, they're still my favorite band. That's not.
But you don't get the same like experience from him. I don't know if he's the lead songwriter for Soul Invicto or if
no, Richie is. I mean,
yeah,
Yeah, it's a different thing. I mean, like Deftones is Stefan's, that's his album.
That's his band, yeah. Right.
That's his band, in my opinion. I mean, and yeah, it's not to discredit the rest of the other members, but if you took one piece of the puzzle away, it's not Deftones anymore. I mean, with the exception of Sergio taking Cheese spot, he was the only person in their mind and in my mind that could have done it. And if he wouldn't have done it, they wouldn't be here today.
No doubt.
So to me, like when I met Sergio with Quicksand, I was like, look, man, like I was wearing my Koi no Yokon shirt. He pointed to me on stage and was like, nice shirt, much love. And I was like, after the show, I was like, look, man, I have to say, like, my favorite band wouldn't be a band if it weren't for you now. Like, so thank you. Like, I made it a point to really say that it meant a lot that he stepped in Cheese shoes, because if he wouldn't have, dude, they wouldn't be here today. I think that too.
Oh, 1,000%. I couldn't agree with you more. And I think Deftones fans certainly owe him a debt of gratitude for helping to keep our favorite band around.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, and I love Quicksand. I've been listening to them almost as long as I've been listening to Deftones. So it was, I mean, seeing Quicksand come back and do their shit when they came back as a 4-piece with the original lineup was amazing. And then they've since lost their guitar player, but they were still awesome. I saw them.
What was the name of that album? Interiors was the newest Quicksand album. That shit slaps.
Dude, it's a fantastic record. Yeah, I loved it, man. I was like, and like it's funny because when Quicksand got back together in 2013 or 14, whenever that tour was that I saw them on, I was like, they're going to end up making a new record. And then it was 4 years later, almost to the day that they put that record out. And I was like, I fucking called that shit. I just knew that with Sergio being back in Deftones, he was kind of revamped. Walter clearly wanted to bring Quicksand back. Like, I was like, they're going to write new shit. I was like, I knew it. And then 4 years later, almost to the day, they were like Interiors. And I was like, yes, I called it, dude.
Yeah.
I love that band. I love those guys. I met Walter when he was in rival schools, and I met Sergio. They're all just fantastic dudes. Quicksand are an amazing band, dude. One of my favorites for sure.
That's so rad. And I totally agree with what you're saying about you take anybody out of the band at this point too. I would argue the same thing for Sergio. Like, I just don't think there's anybody that you could take out, or it would be.
There's nobody that could replace any. I mean, there was the point during, what was it, the Team Sleep Saturday Night Wrist era, where there was talk of replacing Chino, but they both they know for a fact you can't replace Chino, dude. It's not possible. And the only person who could really fill his shoes is sitting before you right now. So
you got it down, right?
20 years waiting for that spot. So I'm here. Call me up, dog.
On some Mark Wahlberg shit. What is that movie? Rockstar?
Yeah.
They pull you up out. No, it was Miles Kennedy was the guy they pulled out of the crowd, and he replaced Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yeah.
That was the end of the movie. Mark Wahlberg replaced the other two.
That
movie's fucking sweet. I love that movie.
I'm still waiting for my, get to walk up on stage with the Deftones moment. I hope that somewhere down the line I get to sing with them live. That's my life dream. Some people would be like, that's a really shitty dream. That is my dream. I just want to do one song with them. Day the Flu. It's my favorite Deftones song for our man Chi. That's always been my favorite song. And guess what? Here's a story for you. That's my favorite song. It has been since, everybody kind of early on is like 7 Words, Head Up. Those are my 2 favorite songs. I kind of dropped 7 Words like a bad habit once I heard Around the Fur. I was like, fuck this album, fuck this shit. But Day the Flu, dude, it's been my favorite song for 20 years. And it took 9 shows and 10 years of seeing them play live to see it live. And they've never played it since. They played it that night, took it out of the set list, haven't played it since.
Wow.
And the only reason they played it that night is because my friend Eric messaged them on Instagram and was like, you guys have to play Day the Flu in Richmond. And the next night it was out of the set list.
Wow. That's crazy.
But I mean, I've been fortunate. I mean, I've seen a lot of shit. Like some people are like, oh, I've only seen the same songs over and over. I have seen some rare cuts and some covers and some deep, some of the stuff they don't play. I've seen it because I've been around for a long time. But I feel like later on, it just kind of got to be where it was like the same songs over and over. And for me, that's boring personally. I mean, it's always good to see those songs live, but I want to see the ones I've never seen, and there's a lot I've seen, but there's also a lot I haven't seen, but it's due to the fact that they don't play those songs,
Yeah. Well, 9 albums, man. That's
Yeah. Well, I
it's
mean,
a
but
lot of, and
look
more,
at it.
9 plus, really.
Yeah, but look at a band like 311 though, dude. I've seen them. I saw them 2 nights in a row, and they played like 2 of the same song, and then everything else was completely different.
Yeah,
So that's a big,
sure.
and 311 have even more records than Deftones, and their records are longer than Deftones. So they have even more songs to choose from, and they still play from every record, even those 2 nights, they played from every single album they've ever made.
Are they a bigger band?
Who?
311.
Yeah, definitely.
You think they're the bigger band?
I would say, yeah, definitely. I mean, they have a huge of their own, their own 311 fan base, that's, they have their own tour, they have their own festival, they have their own, they've done the beer thing, they have a cruise. I mean, 311, they have a large fan base that has been around for a long time. And I mean, dude, 311 were one of the first bands I ever listened to. I was like 6 when I had the Blue album and music and grassroots. Like that's my early days of music, or 311 and grunge, Sublime and stuff like that. But I mean, I grew up listening to Stone Temple Pilots and Nirvana and all the grunge shit. The Pumpkins were my favorite band until I heard the Deftones. So it's kind of funny how that worked full circle. They're influenced by the Pumpkins. Pumpkins were my favorite band. They're also one of Chino's favorite bands. So it kind of came full circle. And the Smashing Pumpkins are still one of my favorite bands. I mean,
so how did you get into Deftones then?
This is a great story, dude. I guess I was with my parents. I was maybe 11 or 12 maybe. And we went to stay at my aunt and uncle's house in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I got to stay in my cousin Bobby's room, who's, I don't know, I guess, let's see, I'm 35. He's probably like 40 maybe, or maybe 38. He's a few years older than me. But I stayed in his room, and he had kind of what I have off to my left here. I don't know if you can see it, but a massive wall of CDs.
Yeah.
And I just happened to look and see, the cursive Deftones Around the Fur is what stood out. Like I saw that cursive writing, saw the side of the CD, and I pulled it out. And of course you see those tits and you're like, what is this? And so I was like, I mean, dude, for a 12-year-old kid, you're like, what is this? I need to listen to this. So I guess I don't know exactly where it went from there. I remember seeing the CD in his room and making it a point that I wanted it. And I think my birthday was coming up, and I had told one of my friends, like, look, I want Deftones Around the Fur for my birthday. And so I believe my friend Tommy got it for me. And I was in the car with my mom and me and some of my friends, and he handed it to me, and I put it in the CD player for the first time. And not going to lie, I was like, the fuck is this? It had screaming. I mean, at that point I was listening to, Nirvana and Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden and stuff. And I was like, I'd never really heard anything like Deftones, dude. This was all pre-nu metal, no Limp Bizkit or Korn or any of that shit was out. And I heard Around the Fur, and I was just like, it took, once again, it was like 20 listens. I listened to it, and I listened to it, and I listened to it. And eventually, dude, it just grew into, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard. And they were my favorite band within a week. Like, I had Deftones shirts, I had the Windbreaker, like the whole 9 yards, dude.
Do you remember what the song was? Was there a particular song that hooked you and said you were like, I got to listen to this again?
To start off the record with My Own Summer would be, I mean, for me to not get, I talk shit on that song now because I've seen it 18 billion times and they play it every night, and it was one of their biggest songs. I can sit and talk shit about My Own Summer, but dude, the fact of the matter is, on first listen, you're like, holy fucking shit. That start off, dude, just you're like, what the fuck did I just get myself into? And then, I mean, the whole record it doesn't stop. It just rips all the way through, I mean, Mascara is really the slowest moment on the record. And even that song, like, I mean, it holds such a special place in my heart. And I actually have a song about that too. The song Mascara. So when I met Chino, I'm going to kind of jump all over the place here, but when I met Chino in 2010, I was like, I've told you before that my cousin Mary was on the Team Sleep record. And I was like, I was wearing a Mary Timony band shirt, which I don't think Chino even caught on to. But after I walked up and said, why don't you play more songs from the self-titled record, and kind of did my whole thing with all the rest of the guys. So like there were only 12 people in line, right?
Yeah.
So I, being the overzealous ass motherfucker that I am, walked after everybody else had gone through the line. I walked back up to Chino. And my friend Eric, there's a picture online. My friend Eric took the picture. I knelt down on the floor and got right at Chino's eye level. And I was like, yo, man, I just wanted to say it's really tight that you had my cousin Mary on your record. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah, my cousin Mary Timony on the Team Sleep record. And he was like, Mary's your cousin? And I was like, yeah. He was like, well, that's fucking sick. I love her and I love her bands. And I was like, well, dude, I love you. And the fact that you put her on your record is like just the shit. I couldn't believe it. Cause you know, most people have never heard of her, dude. She's an unknown indie artist. She's been making music for 30 years, but to the widely known public, most people have no idea who she is, you know? So I was just like, you know, it's really sick that you put her on the record. And I was like, you know, I had heard that you wanted her to sing Anna Lynn's parts in MX. Is that true? And he was like, nah, Doug, that's not true. I wanted her to sing the song Mascara, the whole song. Wow. So that's the original. That's the real story, is that Mascara was supposed to be sung by Mary Timony, and they couldn't get her at that point. But he wanted her.
Get her. I wonder how they discovered her.
Chino listened to her, like her band Helium, which was a band she did in college. And they got, you know, semi notoriety. They were on, you know, like Beavis and Butthead, and, you know, like where they made fun of the video and stuff like that. But yeah, the song Super Bowl is the Helium song that she's most known for. And it's like
that probably raised some eyebrows or caught their
attention. It's like a video game. It's like video game music, and then like her singing about weird fantasy land stuff and like a Super Bowl, you know, and then
I've heard it because I remember like digging into it after Team Sleep came out, like checking out like, who is this person? You know what I mean? And after then whatever the track they released came out. What track was she on? Which Team Sleep?
She's on the record. She's on Tomb of Legia. And then she's also on 2 B-sides that were cut from the record that I have, where she sings and on one and then sings and plays violin on the other.
Is which one does she sing on, or which of those? Do you remember the names of those songs?
No, but I can look real quick.
Because I love the songs that they didn't release, or the bootleg stuff that Team
a lot of the stuff they didn't put out was even better. So the one song is called Let's Go. She's on that song, and then there's another one. I'm trying to see if I can remember the name of it though. I don't know if I can. I know there's 2 other songs though. And I'm not sure what the other one was. I don't remember. And for whatever, my phone's not bringing up all the B-sides. You know,
it's so dope to think of her singing Mascara.
Well, it's weird too, because when I met her, because I had never met her at this point, it was like a long time until even though she's my cousin, she's like she's like my second or third cousin, so she's kind of a distant relative. But
you were like, I'm gonna use this opportunity
as a way to
conversation. Hell yeah,
yeah. So when I was in college, you know, she was playing at the Black Hat here in DC, which she's played at a billion times, and I was like, I had reached out to her and was like, you know, like, I'm your cousin. I want to come to your show. And by the way, I'm doing a school project. I want to interview you. So upon meeting my cousin for the first time, I was really, I mean, she's my cousin, but I was like really uncomfortable because I was nervous. She's somebody I look up to as a musician, and she's also put out music that I like. That's awesome. So I was like, I had a little bit of that, like, you know, I was nervous. I'm not going to lie. I was nervous. So I was like sitting there, like asking her these questions and asking her about what it was like doing stuff with Team Sleep. Dude, let me tell you, she had no recollection of any of it. She is like, and she doesn't even smoke weed. That's the funny part, is like, I was like, you know, that Team Sleep record, I was like, you're on the record. And she didn't even know that it had come out when I told her that in like 2012 or 13. She had no idea that it had been released in 2005. She had no clue. I was like, well, how did you do it? She was like, they sent me it. I recorded my vocals and sent it back, and I never knew if it came out or anything. But I was like, you played a show with them. She was like, what? I was like, Mary, there's video like on the internet of you on stage with Team Sleep. She had no recollection of it.
That's so sick.
She's
well, I won't be asking her to be on the podcast then.
Yeah, she's a weird chick. Like, she's so funny. Like, she's super cool and down to earth. But like, when it came to that, she just doesn't give a fuck. You know, she's like Chino Marino. Like, I don't care. Her favorite, you know, I mean, she grew up with the guys in Fugazi. So yeah, like, those are her friends, you know, Drive Like Jehu, Fugazi, all the guys from the DC scenes, you know, all the DC bands that are that age, you know, she grew up with all them. I was like, did you like, know the guys in Fugazi? She's like, are you kidding me? They're like my best friends. I'm like, you're like Fugazi, like the band, like they are the band when it comes to that DC punk, all that shit.
Yeah, that's cool as hell.
And she, like I ran into her at the Drive Like Jehu show and I was like, what are you doing here? She's like, what am I doing here? These are my friends. What are you doing here? I was like, I love these guys. I was like, you're friends with them? She was like, yeah, of course.
And she sent you, because you sent me a picture that she took of like Abe or something. She like ran into
she was filling in on guitar on Late Night with Seth Meyers, and Seth Meyers gets different drummers to fill in every week. So he's had Danny Carey from Tool, and it just so happened to line up that Abe was there the same week she was there. And so that the beginning of that week, I knew she was going to be on. I knew Abe was going to be on. I was like, this is my motherfucking shot. So I took it, and I was like, Mary, I was like, Abe from Deftones, the drummer, he's going to be there. Send my love. That's all I said. I just said, send my love to the Deftones, or to Abe, and she sent me that picture, and it's Abe holding up a sign that says, hi, Aaron. And I geeked out so hard over that moment. I was just like, this is so cool, dude. Like,
oh man, that's like the cool to think that they were talking
about me. Yeah.
A minute.
Even a minute. Yeah. Long enough for him to probably write that sign out and for her to be like, let me take a picture of you holding this so we can send it to my cousin. Like, that's so cool though, knowing that he did it. And now, when I go back and I get to talk to Abe again, I'll be like, yeah, dude, you remember this? I'll be like, that's me. He'll be like, oh shit. I've had a lot of moments with those guys, like some of the guys over the years where I've talked to them over the internet, and then I finally meet them in person and they're like, holy shit, dude, we've only been talking on the internet for 20 years. It's nice to meet you in person.
Yeah,
that happened with Sean Lopez. So that was fun.
That's cool as hell. I wonder if that video of Abe sitting in on drums for Seth Meyers is like on the internet, because he's you could look it up probably by like, I don't know, Abe Cunningham on Seth Meyers, and he filled in like for the house band, but Mary's there playing with them too. I got to look that up, because it's always been like we hear Chino on other stuff all the time, right? Yeah. But we don't hear like the greatest drummer on the planet.
Dude, he is
atmospheres.
He is the greatest drummer on the planet. Yeah, there's nobody better than Abe Cunningham.
And he's like why, like you see Travis Barker doing shit with everybody. He's doing a different thing. I get that. But you see different drummers like doing things with other musicians, but you don't see the greatest drummer on the planet getting asked to do stuff.
That I find to be weird. You'd think that more people would want to have him feature on something, but it's also, think about it, it's kind of weird. Like, usually when there's a feature, it's either another guitar player or a singer. It's rarely ever a featured drummer. Like,
Tell you what though, if I was a hip hop artist,
oh dude,
like if I was in like a funky band.
Yeah, I can't believe his talent like hasn't been used more outside of Deftones. But I also think when he came back from Fallacy to Deftones, that he knew he was stepping back into what was going to be the main gig. For them, Deftones that's the money maker, and they knew that. I think even 30 years ago, they knew that those 4 people together, 5 people together, that's our shit.
Yeah. I get that, and I think that it makes a lot of sense, just given what little we actually know about the personalities of the guys, that like they love to tour and they love to make music together, and like if he wanted to not work for anyone else or to do any other things, he doesn't have to. But in the case of being on Seth Meyers, for instance, like that if he's asked, he'll probably he might say yes. And how cool would that be? Like if you're anybody,
say yes. Yeah, like if some rapper was like, I want you on my record to play live drums, I think he would say yeah. He'd be like, fuck yeah, dude, because they're all about collaborating with other people, whether it's within the same genre of music or not. They're like,
Trippie Redd, for instance. Like, why didn't Trippie Redd say he loves Deftones so much? You know what? I should get that fucking awesome drummer to do something. Obviously, he did that thing with Travis Barker, but I'm sure Travis Barker would be like, yeah, dude, Abe's great.
I mean, honestly, Travis can't hold a candle to Abe, dude. No offense to Travis Barker, but nobody holds a candle. There's nobody better than Abe Cunningham. Like when me and my friends start bands and we try to find a drummer, the thing we always come back to is that nobody's ever good enough, because nobody can play like Abe. We had one friend, Sean, that my friends played in a band with for 5 or 6 years, and he went on to become a touring drummer. Like, I mean, he's toured the world because he's that good. Playing for metal bands. But Yeah, like he's the only guy we've met in 20 years we felt could even hold a candle. And sure enough, Abe was one of his earliest influences. He could play Fire Roll like it was nobody's fucking business, dude. And that shit was the shit. Like
That's right.
I loved when they would play that song. Unfortunately, the kid they had on vocals just couldn't pull it off. He was my best friend, so I can't talk.
You can hate him.
See, I went to college and they started a band when I left to go to school. Like me and my friends had been in a band, and then when I left, they started a metal band and replaced me with my best friend. So that, as you can imagine, didn't go over very well with me. But eventually I accepted it. But me and the kid who became the singer are no longer friends, if that tells you where it went. You know.
What did so you were the singer? Did you play guitar?
No, I do not, dude. I can't play any fucking instruments. I can play a few Deftones riffs here and there, but I can't even play full songs, dude. That's the sad part. I have a bass, I have 6 guitars, I have a drum set. Can't play any of them. I have no desire to play any of them. Honestly, like I just want to sing, dude. That's all I've ever wanted to do, man. I've been doing it since I was 12. You know, putting on Deftones records at full volume and just practicing as hard as I could when nobody's home, obviously, screaming and just trying to keep up with Chino, dude. I spent 20 years doing that, you know? So that's, for me, that's all it's about. Like when Chino picked up the guitar, I was like, man, fuck that shit. Put that shit down. Get out of here. I hate the fact that he picked up the guitar, dude. I want Chino at the forefront with the mic, you know, coming down on the microphone. That's what I want to see out of a Deftones live show. And when he's held back by that guitar, you know, certain songs, it's okay. Digital Bath and Change. You're like, all right, you can pick up the guitar for this one. But then other songs, you're like, dude, you shouldn't be playing guitar on this song. Like Leathers. That's a song like, nah, dude, it's too much going on for you to do vocally and play guitar at the same time. And that's why they don't play it. They tried it once and now they don't play it. And that's why. It's because you can see Chino struggling in that video hard, trying to pull off those vocals and play that riff at the same time, you know? And I get it. Like certain songs are studio magic, but that song rips, dude. I want to see it live. You know?
Yeah, I feel that. I totally feel that.
So what kind of questions you got for me as far as I've been kind of just talking about random bullshit. Kind of like all over like, dude, my brain is just like I'm scatterbrained as shit. I'd had 2 cups of coffee when I woke up, so I'm kind of wired a little bit.
No, man, that's how this podcast goes. It's, you know, we're just talking about Deftones.
Well, dude, I see this poster back here, and I was at that tour, not that show, but that was the first time I saw them. Yeah, Deftones, Incubus, and Taproot, November 26th of 2000. That's where it started for me. It was not only my first concert, but it was also my first Deftones concert.
Wow, your first concert was a Deftones show.
That's Incubus and
in a 2000 Deftones. What did you say? 2000, 2001? Yeah,
it was 2000. White Pony. It was the back to school tour. Yeah.
Oh man, what?
That was my first concert. Yeah, and like, dude, seeing Taproot as the first live band. I mean, I don't listen to them anymore, but they were fucking phenomenal. That was Incubus playing, you know, from Make Yourself. It was before Make Yourself had come out, but it was before Drive had come out as a single. And I actually saw the first performance of Drive ever live.
Wow, really?
Yeah, long before it was a single. They sat down that night with just Mike and Brandon, acoustic guitars on a stool. And they said, this is the first time we've ever played this song. And they played Drive. And I mean, look at where it's at now. It still gets played on the radio every day. Yeah, I saw the first live performance of that song ever. Did
Brandon play the bongos for like 25 minutes during their set?
He does play the bongos. Yeah, he plays on the old Science songs a lot of time. You know, me and my buddy Rob were always talking about how he takes his shirt off. 25 years of taking that shirt off every night. Like, you know, it's always in a certain point in the set, Brandon's taking the shirt off.
Yeah,
it's coming off.
It's his gift to us. It's one of his gifts to us, at least.
Brandon of the Jungle with his man.
Apart from his beautiful voice and his dashing good looks, he's got the body. He's got to show off his body. Yeah,
I get it. I'm like, I mean, even Chino during the Diamond Eyes era had his shirt off a few nights, and I was like, this is about the only time you're gonna get away with that is because dude, when I met him, he looked like around the Fur era Chino. He was skinny, he was fit. Like, I mean, he looked like he was 18 again. I was impressed because, you know, he had kind of ballooned up there for a while. And I can't sit here and talk shit on anybody's weight. My weight fluctuates constantly. But like, dude, he got pretty big there. I mean, the Hole in the Earth video, it's like.
Well, and that was part of I feel like the experience of them coming back was like, holy shit, they sound amazing.
Yeah.
They look amazing. You know what I mean?
That first Diamond Eyes.
It was all a part of that experience. That it was visual. It was what you heard. The whole thing was just like, whoa, they're
Yeah.
back. You
Yeah,
know,
they're
that
back.
was
Yeah,
huge.
that was the reaffirm. Yeah, for sure. In 2010, I was like, their mother. I mean, I don't think they ever fucking left. I saw them during Saturday Night Wrist 2 nights in a row, and I saw them the year before 2 nights, 4 nights apart from each other. And I mean, dude, some of the set list, the 2 nights in 2007 that I saw are two of the best set lists I've ever seen, and some of the best Chino screams I've ever heard were in that night. I mean,
Yeah.
and that was when he was at his peak of being the heaviest he had ever been. You know, probably the most out of shape he'd ever been.
Yeah,
But
but
dude,
after Chi's passing or after Chi's accident, like that was a major that put a lot of question marks in the air. You know what I mean? Like that to me was what I'm talking about when I talk about wow, they're back, because I feel like the uncertainty was overwhelming. Like I didn't know if my favorite band was done several times, like
yeah,
even through Saturday Night Wrist, because that
yeah,
got delayed a bunch, and
yeah,
then the accident, and like so many I feel like years there in that dark period or whatever. I was like, this
yeah.
seems tenuous. I don't know if
It,
this is gonna last.
it was all up in the air after Saturday Night Wrist, you know, and like they toured and things got a little bit better, but they still don't talk about those tours as being great. It wasn't until after they finished touring Saturday Night Wrist and went to make Eros that they really started to kind of put the pieces back together. And I talked to Sean Lopez a lot. We've become good friends over the years, from far and from crosses. And he told me he heard, what was recorded from Eros. And I asked him, because I asked him when Diamond Eyes came out, I was like, what does it compare to Diamond Eyes? And he said, Diamond Eyes is very uplifting. The songs are very short. He said Eros is a lot more drawn out, a lot darker, a lot more experimental. I mean, it's kind of all the things they had already described the album sounding like, and when you hear Smile, you kind of see, I mean, it's still Deftones, but it is almost a continuation of Saturday Night Wrist era Deftones. It's still dark. It's still, it's very much in that kind of vein. Deftones, they have, dark melodic songs, and then they have kind of more upbeat, faster songs, I feel like. And
I think that's fair to
yeah,
put it that way.
yeah, it's like, it's kind of a generalization of their two sounds, but it's, but yeah, I mean, Sean, he told me that he really liked what he heard on Eros more than what was on Diamond Eyes. So I've always, wanted to hear it, but I still maintain the position and we'll never hear anything else from it. I mean,
Yeah.
when Chino released Smile, that was one thing, but then when I heard they were practicing to play it at Dia Los Deftones, I was like, they're not going to play it. I was like, there's no fucking way they're not going to play that song. And then they did. And my cousin was there and literally didn't send me video of that song. I was like, you fucking dipshit. Like, he sent me video of every song I didn't care about and not videos of Streetcar, fucking Smile, and whatever the other rare song was they played that night. I was like, dude,
They opened with fucking Ricketts that day. That was so
Ricketts,
amazing.
which I also have seen live, and I love that song. Dude, the 2 nights in 2007, they came out on the first night out the break and played 5 of the first 6 songs off Around the Fur. They came out, played My Own Summer, Labia, Around the Fur, Ricketts.
That's
in that order. Like, so they skipped Mascara, and then the second night they came out, third song in, played MX, and then later in the set played Mascara. Between those 2 nights, I saw all of Around the Fur except for Damone, which I've also seen live.
That's really fucking
good. I have seen Damone, which most people have never seen that song. I saw it 2003 with Dredge, when Dredge were opening. Or no, it was
word.
2000, was it 2000? Hold on. 2004, my bad.
That's gonna be one of those where after we get done here, I'm gonna go check the set list for the show I saw that year and see if I heard it. I know that there are dudes who like obviously you're pretty sharp on top of it. Maybe you're one of these people who like keep Excel spreadsheets of all of the times that they've seen them. You do that?
In my old computer, I've since gotten a new computer and I have yet to transfer all the shit over. But I have a list of bands that I've seen and how many times I've seen them live. And then I have, for Deftones, I have every set list because they're my favorite band. Certain bands, I keep the set list for every show. So like Deftones, Glassjaw, I gave up on Circus Survive because I've seen them like 15 times. I've seen every song they've ever written. So I just kind of gave up on that one. But yeah, with Deftones, I have a, it's not a spreadsheet. It's just a Word document. And it has, it has the date, the lineup, the venue, the city, and then the set list in order, because I've taken the set list from every show I've ever been at. I wrote it down at the show in order so that I would have it.
That's tight, dude. I wish I had that foresight back
I mean, going back
for
to
every show.
the White Pony show, I had to, that was in the early days of cell phones. Like I had to sit there and type it out while being in a mosh pit in a giant crowd of, whatever. Like, yeah, dude, it was hard as fuck that night. And I had to kind of go from memory, but then
yours is like shorthand.
Yeah. I'd put in, BA, QD. Yeah. Summer. I always,
ATF.
Yeah. ATF is around the fur. I always abbreviate the shortest, and I would just make up abbreviations. And like me and my friends, we always abbreviated bands to just like Poison the Well. We'd call them the Well. Deftones, the Tones. Glassjaw, the Jaw.
Jaw.
Yeah, like I mean, dude, just abbreviating band names. And so for Deftones song names, I had to end up doing that too. Summer is summer, and like actually here, funny story for you. All right, hold on, let me get something real quick, because this is interesting, and most people probably don't know this, but it's true. So there's a Deftones live album that came out in 1990, I don't know, fucking 7 or whatever, this thing.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I got that.
So on the back here, you see it says, I'll try and get the closest view I can. It says Fireall Swords Live, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people are always have thought that that's the end of Fireall. It's not, dude. S words is 7 words. It's an abbreviation. And I'll tell you how I know, because I have this entire set list. And in this set list, after Fireall, guess what they play? 7 words. Swords is an abbreviation for 7 words. People never got that, and it literally made it on this live CD. And people have always thought Swords is the end of Fireall, but it's not. Fireall's one song. It's 7 minutes long, and then the last song is Fist. But yeah, that's an interesting tidbit for you from that.
They called it Swords instead of like using the number 7.
Yeah.
Well, like, why not? I don't know.
Which now they do. It's now when they write the set list, it says 7 words.
They're
but
like, we're confusing the shit out of fans.
It's because of this, dude. I truly think, because this is like,
I bet you're right.
Release, and for years people were like, what is Swords? And I figured it out within 20 minutes of voting the CD. And
where was that CD released? That's like
the UK.
A UK release?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I bought it here in the US, but I think it was originally like an overseas release.
God, I wonder where I bought my copy, if I bought it at like Best Buy or Circuit City, or if I
bought this in some CD store in the mall, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I mean, I've got all the, a lot of the old live CDs.
Swords. I hadn't thought about that, because I'm sure I'd read it and probably thought the same thing, but I hadn't thought about that in years. Swords. Oh, wow. You're showing me a signed Adrenaline CD.
Yeah, this is the one my cousin Bobby gave me. So here's the deal. I told you that I went down there and I stayed in his room. I didn't ever finish that story, so I'll finish the story. I heard Around the Fur, got it, and then I went back down that summer to help my cousin and my uncle build a retaining wall. And I was wearing the white shirt that you had on the other day, the character shirt, and I was wearing that, and he opened the front door to my uncle's house, and he was like, sick fucking shirt, dude. He was like, I was like, yeah, this album's the shit, dude. I was like, you got me into this. And he was like, well, if you think that's the shit, I'm going to bring their first album tomorrow and we're going to listen to that. So the next day he shows up with this, and he was like, yeah, this is I met them and hung out with them in 98, and he showed me Adrenaline. And then that night he took me to the CD store and I bought, this is going to set, I'm really ashamed of this, so don't make fun of me. But on the same day I bought this record and I bought Significant Other by Limp Bizkit.
Oh, that's amazing, dude.
1999. But here's the thing. I dropped that album like a bad habit and only listened to this motherfucker. And I was like, this is the shit. Fuck Limp Bizkit. I mean, obviously, my last name is Durst, so I've gotten that question for 20 years, dude. I hate that fucking shit. I hate that motherfucker. Deftones are my favorite band. People are like, oh, you related to Fred? Yeah, for the first 5 minutes, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm related to Fred. And then I dropped Limp Bizkit, and I was like, fuck that guy. I was like, I'm related to somebody who's way cooler than him. That's the story. But then years later, my cousin showed up at my grandparents' house. He told me for years he was going to give me this or something of his Deftones collection, and he gave me this, and I still have it. So that's my booklet, and then this is the one he gave me, and they're actually different. Weirdly enough, his original version, the booklet's different than this one.
Oh, really? What's different?
I don't know. It's like real subtle differences. Let me see if I can kind of point some of them out for you, but They're like very, very subtle. It's kind of hard to tell, but like some of the special thanks and stuff are different.
Cool.
Like the color choices are kind of slightly different. I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. You know, they look fairly similar, but there's just ever so slight differences. Weirdly enough, like his original booklet is just slightly different from the other one, and Around the Fur it's the same way, where the original booklet's different from later releases that came out.
That's cool.
Because there's a black and white version of the Around the Fur booklet, and there's a color version of it.
That's sick.
Weird. And then I don't know if you know this, you guys. I know you're not a huge vinyl guy, but the picture disc version of Adrenaline is the only one that has Fist on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know if you guys, because I heard you and Sly talking about the vinyl, but yeah, the original picture disc version is the only one that actually has Fist. None of the other ones do.
Really?
And I know because I own that one. I have the original copy.
So was that one pressed later?
The one with Fist?
Yeah.
No, that was the first one.
Oh, that one came from.
Yeah, hold on.
So they took it off.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Or maybe it didn't. There wasn't enough room for it. Perhaps. I don't know. That's interesting. That's really cool.
But hold on, let me dig it out here. It's stuck in this. Yeah, it's kind of weird though. I mean, none of the other pressings, like I said, have Fist on it, and this one it doesn't actually say it's on there, but it is if you listen to the disc.
Really?
Yeah, that one. This was, and people are gonna be like, "Where did you get this?" This was from Hot Topic in 2000, dude. Is when I got.
Oh, wow.
This is the first. This is also the first record I ever owned. My buddy bought it for me, and it's what started me on collecting vinyl, which I now hate him for because I've spent thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 4 copies of this record alone, dude.
I mean, I saw that wall of CDs that you have there, so you know how difficult it is to like A, store it, and then B, if you got to move it. What a pain.
Oh my God.
Ass.
Dude.
To like throw vinyl in the mix, that was prohibitive for me. I was like, I can't.
I mean, you can probably kind of tell I have a massive CD collection. I have a massive poster collection. I have a massive vinyl collection. I have a massive instrument collection. I have a massive band t-shirt collection. I just collect shit.
Sounds like you're a massive hoarder.
Pretty much. Yeah. But it's like, it's organized hoarding though. Like nothing, it's not like there's just piles of shit everywhere. Everything's organized and like clean, you know, but yeah, I just hoard shit. I mean, dude, like I have concert flyers from shows I went to 20 years ago. I mean, like all sorts of shit.
What's your favorite piece of Deftones memorabilia that you have?
Favorite piece of Deftones memorabilia that I have? Damn, I don't know, dude. Probably my cassettes, honestly, just because they're so old and so rare. And I kind of like it's taken me some time to get some of the more rare Deftones items. I mean, I still don't have the whole album collection. I mean, I have all the records on vinyl, but I don't have everything they made. I don't have the My Own Summer 7-inch, and I don't have the Red White Pony, and I don't have the black color version of Self-Titled and the color version of Saturday Night Wrist. I was just really poor when those came out and couldn't afford to buy them, so I don't have those. And now they're like $300. I'm like, I'm not spending money on that shit. I'm like, dude, I have 4 copies of Saturday Night Wrist. I don't think I need another one. You know, like certain things I kind of was just like, yeah, you know. But I mean, Ohms came out. I bought the clear version and the gold version, and I bought it on those 3 cassettes that came out.
I really wish I'd bought the cassettes, the little cassettes with the autograph thing. Like,
yeah, the little art card.
Yeah, I should have bought that, man.
It's cool, but here, hold on. I'm going to show you mine. It kind of sucks. You can barely even see Chino's signature on it, dude. It kind of sucks.
He was using a fine point Sharpie that day.
Well, everybody else's signature is like really dark, and his, you can barely fucking see it underneath the eye. Sorry, there's like a glare. Hold on. It's right here, but you can barely.
I can only sort of see a part of it where it like bleeds over the eye, or the part of the eye that like. Yeah,
it's like right here. It's super.
You can barely see it.
Yeah, it's
he was using the fine point that day.
I was like, dude, so I'm gonna have to get a gold Sharpie and redraw over it.
Next time you get the meet and greet, you're like, hey dog, I need you to upgrade my shit.
Beef up this signature, because like, I mean, dude,
blow right past Frank and walk straight up to Chino.
Fucking Frank. I mean, that's always been the joke that we've had too, because Frank wasn't originally in the band. So my friend Rob, he's always like, man, fuck Frank. He doesn't do anything, man. Fuck Frank. He's always saying that shit. Like,
oh man, that's back to my favorite my favorite parts of what Frank does have like totally come to life on Ohms. Like,
dude, he is all over it. This is the most synth they've ever. When I first heard this record, I was like synth tones, because this is more synth than they've ever used on the record. I mean, they've done it for years, but it's hard to hear it. This, I mean, Genesis out the gate, he is at the forefront. And that song, dude, like, I fucking love that song. Like, it intrigues me to know what the original vocal take was like.
yes.
You did that interview and said, that's not the original vocal take. But this one, dude, it's so good that I guarantee it's better than whatever he wrote originally, because it's just so bomb. Those lyrics and the way they fit in the song. I mean, it's like undeniably good, dude. I love that song.
What do you think? We more likely to hear the original version of Genesis, whatever that song might have been called. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The original vocal take of Genesis, or another song from Eros.
Another song from Eros.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have more shot at hearing that just because they know people want to hear it. But as far as getting that entire record, I think they'd actually finished 8 songs. So even if it does come out, it ain't going to be a 12-song record. It's gonna be 8 songs, and we've already gotten Smile. I honestly personally think it'll never come out, but I just know how they are. I've been following this band for 20 years. They don't release their B-sides. They don't record anything other than what's on the record, because there was another song from Gore that got cut. It was actually the first song of Gore, called Crest. And Chino made the final cut, said he didn't like the vocals. He wrote and took it out. And so the album starts with Prayers Triangles. I mean, it just is what it is. And he's the one who's doing those cuts. It's not the rest of the band. It's like, if I can't get the vocals done or right to where I want them, then that song's just not going to be on the record.
Yeah.
Whereas I wish he would just man up, finish that shit so we can get longer albums. Dude, me and Chino, I'll tell you, I would go in on that motherfucker if we actually got to sit down and talk. I'd be like, I love you, but at the same time, you lazy, dog.
I don't think so. I don't think I'd have the balls to do it. I think I would. I'm very happy to get the 9 albums that I got.
I say that now, but sitting in front of Chino is a whole different thing.
You might change your mind a little bit, huh?
Yeah, and then the second year I did that meet and greet. It was so quick that like I didn't really get to say anything. I walked up, took my picture. I was wearing my Quicksand slip shirt, and Sergio was like, "Nice shirt." I was like, "I wore it for you, dog." And that was pretty much it. Like there were like 200 people versus the first year it was like 12.
Yeah.
It was a lot different thing. And the second year we did it, we were gonna go see them 2 nights in a row, but we made the choice to do the Diamond package again because they were doing sound check. And they didn't offer that in the first one. And I was like, well, this is our chance to see a deep cut. Do I really need to finish that story about what they sound checked with? Because I didn't see no deep cut, dog. You know what I saw? 2 songs I had already seen a million times that I didn't care about: Hole in the Earth and Kim Dracula. I was like, well, that wasn't worth it. That was immediate. I walked away from that experience immediately like that wasn't worth it.
Oh, that's too bad. I had that
$150
ever at that meet and greet, like that sound check.
I did the first year. But the sound check one, the second year, we did it. The first year we did it was at the National in Richmond, Virginia. And then the second year we did it at Sonar in Baltimore, which isn't even a venue anymore. And it was a shithole venue to begin with. But that second year, the 2011, we were going to go see him 2 nights in a row. And we were like, well, we can do that, or we can do Diamond Package VIP again. And we ended up doing that. And then, of course, the second night, that tour, they played When Girls Telephone Boys, and I had never seen that song at that point. And I was like, fuck, we fucked up. But, it is what it is. So I skipped 2 nights in exchange for getting to meet them again and getting the set list and getting the sound check. But I was disappointed because I wanted, I met them
to hear some unique shit.
I mean, I wanted to hear Good Morning Beautiful. I walked right up to Abe that night after the sound check, because they did the sound check first and then the meet and greet, if I remember correctly. And I was like, I walked up to Abe and I was like, what's the deal, man? I was like, you guys have played Good Morning Beautiful like once since, like once again, I just went fucking full on in. I was like, can you guys play Good Morning Beautiful tonight? And Abe looked right at me and was like, I'm not gonna lie, dog, we can play that song right now, but I can't make any promises. And you know what that is? That's called Chino making set list cuts. Like,
He said we could play it right now,
but I ain't making no promises. Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He's like, but I ain't making no promises. And I was like, well, dude, you guys should play that song. And then now I don't know if this is true. Roman claims it is true, but he said 3 days later they played Good Morning Beautiful in Soundcheck in North Carolina, and I wasn't there. And I don't know if I believe that. Roman says he got it from a source that is reliable, that they did play that song in a Soundcheck. But the fact of the matter is, dude, they've played it live twice since Self-Titled was released.
I'd like to think that those sound checks don't count personally.
Yeah, they don't.
It just doesn't count. I think it's a unique experience, and it's one that I remember fondly. I don't remember what they played. I just remember being in the main first staff with like, I don't know, a dozen people, like you said, and watching my favorite band. And they were like just so cool, like throwing pics and like hanging out. It was like a hang as much as anything. And like that to me was such a cool, way cooler than whatever they might have performed. You know what I mean?
The only thing that sucked about those meet and greets, because I did it twice in 2 years, and the only thing I will say is that it seemed like the experiences were differing for every person in every city. Because I talked to somebody and they said they saw them in North Carolina, and they were like, we got to hang out with the Deftones and drink beers and stuff for like an hour. Dude, both of my meet and greets were under 15 minutes, bro. Yeah. Like the first one, it was like we got to walk up to the table, get your poster signed, kind of say your piece, take a couple pictures, and then all the band members started to disperse and disappear. Yeah. And I did get to talk to Chino and get my picture taken with Chino that first night and stuff, but the second time it was like there were 200 people, dude. It was like you walk up, get your picture taken, say what's up to the dudes, and then go get your merch and get the fuck out.
That varies a lot for a lot of reasons. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you, the biggest experience I regret is not going to the Team Sleep studio session, because it was $500, and I wish I had done that, because it seems like those are the people who really got to hang out, eat dinner, talk to all the members. Like that's the experience that I'm really looking for. Like I just want to go and chill and smoke with my favorite band, dude. Like
right,
hang out on the tour bus. Even the night I saw Crosses, I hung out with Lopez for 2 fucking hours. Didn't even get to meet Chino, dude. He was like, I was like, where's Chino? Call Chino over here. Tell him I want to fucking meet him. And he called him and couldn't get him on the phone. And then when we went out of the bar, there was a sea of people around Chino. And Sean was like, later, dude, I got to go. And him and Chino hopped on the tour bus. And that was that. I didn't even get to say what's up to him. And I mean, I literally hung out with Sean for 2 hours after the show that night, because he's my homie, man. That was super cool. I went up to Philly to see Crosses, and I told him I was coming. And I hit him up like when I got to the show, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, can I come backstage? And he was like, we're getting ready to go on, but as soon as the show's over, I'm going to come find you. And he did. He came right out and found me. We went over to the bar. He bought me a Jameson, and we sat there and had drinks and talked about Far and Deftones and Crosses and all sorts of shit, man.
That's cool.
It was unreal. I mean, the night I met him for the first time was at a Far show in 2009 when they got back together. And after they played, he walked, they played in a venue where the stage was like that high off the ground. I mean, Far are not a big band, and they never
look them in the eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. They never got big. So they played in this little, 120 person capacity room, and they were like, it was packed full. And they played their set. It was phenomenal. It's still to this day the greatest show I've ever seen. Sorry, Deftones, but Far, they win it hands down, dude. Because you don't get that experience with Deftones. They're not going to walk off stage and hug you. I got that experience with Far. Jonah and Sean walked off stage and were like, hey, Aaron, what's up? And gave me a big old hug. Wonderful to see you, that type of stuff. Like,
that's cool.
And yeah, so that night I walked over to Sean, and he was, they just finished playing, and he was putting his guitar down, and I just walked up and I said, hey, buddy, it's Aaron. And he goes, wait, the Aaron? And I was like, the Aaron. And he's like, holy shit. Because I mean, dude, we've been talking for 15 years on the internet before I met him. He was like, it's so nice to finally meet you. He could not be a nicer person, dude.
Wow, that's
really one of the most humble musicians I've ever met. Him and Jonah, it's so weird that they don't get along with each other, because they're two of the nicest people I've ever met. Yeah. It's sad because I was so stoked when Far got back and made that record. I was like, at least I got to see him, but it flopped right after that. They pretty much just broke up again after that. And that was really sad. It still like breaks my heart, because that album was so good, man.
Well, there was so much that that came out of that scene and that time. And I've called, those other bands, Will Haven and Far, like Deftones adjacent bands, only because I wouldn't know who they were really had it not been for Deftones.
Yeah, if it weren't for Deftones, I wouldn't have discovered Far and Will Haven for sure.
But I still have so much love for those bands. And
oh yeah, I mean,
it's always cool to see any of those guys do anything, like make something, you know what I mean? It's just really exciting because I still have that history with them, and I still want to like discover what they're doing next.
Yeah, that whole Sacto scene of those three right there. I mean, they're three of my favorite. I mean, Deftones and Far are my two favorite bands of all time. Like when they come together to do, Savory and No Ordinary, like that is the creme de la creme for me. It doesn't get any better than Far and Deftones together on one stage.
What do you like better, the original version of Be Quiet and Drive or the acoustic re-tinkering of Be Quiet and Drive?
Are you talking about like the remix, like the Crook version?
No, I'm just talking about like the acoustic version, like Jonah's version.
Jonah's version or their version of it with Jonah? Because there's multiple, like Jonah sings it by himself, which I've seen him do that. And then I've also, there's also, like the versions where it's Deftones acoustic. I think it's Be Quiet and Drive acoustic, but Jonah, and you can hear the creaking of the stool or whatever, that version. And Jonah is in that version. And
well, that's because Jonah wrote he rewrote the guitar part for the acoustic.
For the acoustic version, yeah.
So that's what I'm asking, I guess, is do you like that version, or are you like an album? I like the album version. I like the album. What I heard on record.
No, I like the album version, but I love, I love Jonah and I love Crook. So there's no way I wouldn't love, the remix version. It's not something I like, like if I'm going to go listen to Be Quiet and Drive, I'm going to listen to it on the album, but I do like, I think that's on B-Sides and Rarities.
Yeah.
And yeah, I love that song, dude. I mean, Jonah, I've seen Jonah play multiple Deftones songs. I've seen him do Digital Bath acoustically. I've seen him do Be Quiet and Drive. And then like most people don't know this, and Jonah may even quasi dispute this, but I've heard through a very reputable source, he actually wrote the vocal melody to Change, dude. So take that information with a grain of salt. Like the chorus vocal melody, like Jonah
I had not heard that before. That's news.
I heard it. I heard that from somebody who was in the room when it happened. And Jonah and Chino have both kind of downplayed that, but I believe it. I mean, the person I heard it from was there. It's somebody that you would know of if I mentioned his name.
But you're not going to name names.
I could. I mean, it was Andy Bennett. He was there. This is the guy who did the
documentary,
Entertain Me, and he did the Little Bath video, and he came up with the video for Minerva, which Chino also stole that from him. There's a lot of bad blood there now, so I don't want to go too far into it, but yeah, according to what Andy told me, he was in the room and Jonah wrote the vocal melody to the hook and Change.
Interesting.
And I since asked Jonah and said, look, I don't want to say who told me this, but so-and-so who was in the room told me you wrote the vocal hook for Change. Is that true? And he was like, I helped write the song. He didn't say specifically, I wrote this part, Chino wrote this part. He said, I was there when the song was written. That's what he said.
Interesting. What a thing to be, pardon the pun, a fly on the wall.
While they're writing Change, the biggest song they ever made with Jonah. I mean, just to think about the people who were in the studio around the time of White Pony. I mean, the fact that Scott Weiland's on the record and is completely uncredited. He's one of my biggest vocal influences ever, dude. I love the Stone Temple Pilots. And like the fact that he's uncredited, but he's on the record. Chino has confirmed that on multiple occasions. And that's like there was back.
I still have trouble hearing him though.
Yes, it's very faint, and if you isolate the tracks, you can hear him. He's there, but it's very faint. It almost just sounds like it could be Chino. I mean, so it's interesting. I've always kind of wondered that, but back before White Pony came out, there was a magazine that came out, I think from the UK, and the Deftones were on the cover. They were called the Sacramento Kings, and it came with a disc that had one White Pony song and a bunch of other songs on it, but it had the credits for the record, and it said that Be Real from Cypress Hill was on the record. And then obviously when the record came out, Be Real was nowhere to be found. And then we found out years later, Black Moon, was a song they did during the White Pony sessions, but never fit. I get why they never put that song out and didn't put it on White Pony. It doesn't sound like a Deftones song. You know,
Right.
it's just Be Real rapping over Abe playing drums, essentially. It's cool, but it's not really a Deftones song. And I get why they cut it, you know, but back then that was like before like the magazine even knew what actually was and wasn't going to come out. Cause I remember it said guest appearances and it said Maynard James Keenan from Tool and Be Real from Cypress Hill. And then, you know, the record came out and Maynard's on it, but Be Real's nowhere.
Do you remember the magazine? Do you remember the name of the magazine? So it's from the UK, right?
Yeah, not off the top of my head, but I still have the photos from it over there in a box.
Yeah, gotta find
I used to hang on my wall. I don't know if I have the CD anymore, but yeah, I have a lot of just shit that I've acquired over the years, I guess. A lot of posters and stuff, you know. I give you a little tour if you want here. I don't know how much I can move my computer around here, but let me see. Turn my brightness back up. All right, so we're over here in front of my desk. Well, here, I'll start you at the front door. We got, you know, the big old Adrenaline serigraph. I do have all 8 of them, and crosses are up there. And Incubus, and we got a pin collection here on this billboard.
Cool.
And then over here, there's another big old Deftones wall. A bunch of them. We got Diamond Eyes. You got 2 Around the Fur era posters. Chino Screaming art print, which my friend found that online and was like, "You should buy that." And so I bought it.
Sick. That's so cool. Dude, I love those types of pieces that are off the beaten path.
Yeah. So then let's see over here. We got a Hopes Fall poster from when I met those guys. They're great dudes too. That I bought in a record store in like 2000 in the mall, dude. It's like a professional photograph of Chino. Hold on, let's see if I can get some better light action there. It's like a professional photograph of him kneeling down screaming.
Cool. What era Deftones is that?
Around the Fur.
It's Around the Fur. Sick.
Yeah,
I can't really tell. But he's in that all white. It could have been like 2016. Oh, okay. He's got the okay. I see it now.
Yeah, you can see
frosted tips.
Yeah, frosted tips. The Adidas campuses. That's Around the Fur. Then next to that is the set list with the guitar picks from Diamond Eyes Meet and Greet Part 2. This is the lyrics to Wear It So Well by Far from Jonah, handwritten out by Jonah. That's the serigraph that came in the vinyl box set there.
Cool.
Quicksand and Hum. Another serigraph. I'm trying to see I'm trying to like look at the screen and look at you and see what you can see.
Yeah.
Here's you were asking about my most prized possession. That's probably it right there.
All right.
A 3 foot by 3 foot Gore poster. Wow. Bought it in the front of a record store. It's 3 feet by 3 feet. It's huge. I mean,
that's dope. God, I love that cover.
So do I, dude. And funny story about that. I was wearing a Gore shirt and I bought other Gore posters, and this one was in the window when we pulled up in the record store parking lot, and it was like a store closing.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to leave here with that poster. So I walked around in that record store talking about how big of a Deftones fan I was for 45 minutes until I walked out of the store, and I had already talked to them about trying to get this poster and everything. I walked out of the store, we were about to leave, and the guy comes out and goes, "All right, we're going to sell you the poster. Come back in." And I was like, I did. It was like a dream come true, because I've always wanted one of those giant Deftones posters. I do have some other ones, the Diamond Eyes one. That one's 2 feet by 2 feet.
Yeah, that one's big. I can see it
over there. Yeah, but this one's even bigger. It's 3 feet by 3 feet.
Yeah, I can tell it's not up on the wall. You're having trouble finding space for it.
Well, I had it in front of my fireplace, but I have my heater out right now. So
yeah, there you go.
Then here we've got, literally it's all Deftones posters, my whole living room.
Oh, those are cool. I really love that one on the top. I know that one. I've got that one on my wall. Which one? That's the 2010.
Yeah, that was, so I walked up and I was also the first person in line this night. I walked up and I slapped this poster down on the table, and they were like, "Whoa, sick." And I was like, "What? You guys didn't see that before you made it?" And they were like, "Nah, dog." They'd never seen it before. So they signed mine. I was the first person in line. They signed it. This was the first time they'd ever seen this poster.
That's cool as shit.
Yeah. So then we've got the serigraphs just kind of continue around the room.
Yeah.
White Pony. And then here's that's a
UK corner there.
It's a UK self-titled poster. This is
Jermaine Rogers
lyrics. Jermaine Rogers from the Norva 2013. Actually, another funny story while I'm on the topic, that night of the show in Richmond where they didn't play anything from self-titled and played nothing from Saturday Night Wrist.
You don't
Dude.
remember, you don't even talk about the amazing shit that they probably
No,
pulled.
no. But here's the
but
thing.
they didn't play this shit.
Well, yeah, I mean, my buddy Kip was there and he was so heartbroken. I didn't give a fuck because I've seen all those songs, and I've seen them during every era from Pony on. So I was like, whatever. But that night, dude, they played 9 songs from Diamond Eyes of the 11. And Chino smashed at least 6 microphones that night. Like, just swinging them and smashing them into the ramp, dude. Like 6. I'm sure he was hammered. From the time I met him to the time they went on stage, he went backstage and got shit-faced, dude. For sure. But anyhow, here we'll continue. You got self-titled, you got the wrist, Diamond Eyes. These are all above my fireplace. This is where the door poster usually sits, is right here. There's a big hole.
Yeah.
And Diamond Eyes, Koi no Yokon. It was like a challenge to fit all the serigraphs in one room.
The Koi serigraph is really, really cool. I like that one a lot.
And then here we've got, this is like over the vinyl collection.
That's dope.
Stuff. So I got the Diamond Eyes flag.
You got palms over there. What's about
palms?
Oh, it's a glass jaw. Cool.
Silence. I got a signed Far poster there.
Dope.
Glassjaw Quicksand tour poster. Another Deftones poster. It's really dark right here, so you're not gonna be able to see it, but it's from a show I didn't even go to.
Sick.
I just ordered offline, and then the Gore serigraph there.
Nice.
Oh yeah, and let's see. Big old box set sitting out. I'm gonna bust out some of these cassette tapes for you so you can see what I'm working with. This is the first one. Sounds of Deftones.
Yeah, look at that guy.
It's got 7 words and teething.
With the Rick Cossack photo, one of my favorite photos, period, of Deftones. That photo of Chino like flying towards the camera, like he's about to just explode off of the image.
Yeah,
so cool.
It's kind of like this one, right? Or
that is it. Yeah, that's it.
It is it. Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, that is the photo. I thought so.
Yeah, that's the Rick Cossack photo. I don't know that he gets enough credit for that.
He doesn't.
That photo is pretty dope.
Most recent edition. Sorry, there's glare and shit.
No, I see it. That's sick.
Adrenaline. I picked that up like literally a month ago on eBay.
I'm guessing you never play any of these either, right?
A lot. Well, this one's still sealed. You can see the plastic on it.
What is that one?
This is Mylan Summer Can't Even Breathe.
Cool. Sweet, like packaging.
Yeah, hold on. Let me make it a little brighter over here. All my lights are hooked to my phone though, so I gotta turn the light on over here. Let me see if I can make it a little easier for you to see over here. Come on, light. There we go.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah, but I mean, still sealed. I'm not gonna ever open it. I mean, dude, I have the song Can't Even Breathe. I know what it sounds like. I don't need to. Yeah, I mean, these are just collector's items for me. Totally. I don't play any of my cassette tapes. This is Leathers, and what else is on this one? Rosemary from Koi no Yokon era. Yeah, I don't have all the ones Sly has. He's got so many more than me, dude. I hope he lets me inherit his collection whenever he dies. And then there's all 3 of the
different colors, the pink and the green. I really regret not buying those cassettes.
Yeah, I saw those and I was like, oh, I have to have those, dude. I mean, I collect cassettes, so I was like, I gotta have those.
That's probably my second biggest regret of a Deftones like item, piece of memorabilia. The first, my biggest regret is not getting that neon light, the Gore, the pink flamingo neon light. I love that one.
And these aren't Deftones, they're Far cassettes, but they were all from Jonah's collection. I paid an absurd amount of money for these. I don't even want to say, because when I told Sean Lopez how much I paid for these 3 cassette tapes, he looked at me and was like, Aaron, I would have given you those for free. You're an idiot.
And Cross is working on new music.
Yeah, Doug, I'm super stoked. I mean,
is that your favorite Chino side project or non-Deftones?
Yeah, I would say so, just because it's with Sean, and Sean's my homie, you know. I love Far. Like, basically, when Chino and Sean started Crosses, it was like, for me, that was like as good as it gets, you know, because they're probably my 2 favorite musicians. I mean, to put those 2 dudes together specifically was like pretty awesome. I was like, hell yeah, this project's gonna kick ass, you know. I mean, there was no way
different than either of their other bands.
Yeah, for sure.
which is really cool. Like, what, you don't want them to do the same thing, right? Like, you want them to do something different, and they did. They came out with like this like evil dance album. It's really cool.
Yeah, some witch house music, right?
Yeah.
That was the genre thing.
Witch
They got
house.
Witch House. They were like, yeah, this new Witch House band crosses, and Sean was like, all right, so apparently I invented a new genre of music. He's like, I've never fucking heard of Witch House, but
Well, I don't know what genre of music Deftones have created, but I'm starting to believe more and more that they did. Like, they've created their own genre.
I mean, I feel it's kind of like, you know, like alternative metal, essentially. I mean, it's a really horrible description for their style of music, but
truly,
it kind of is that, you know. I mean,
yeah, no, I get where you're going at, but I also agree that sucks. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, it's like I don't know. I mean, it's rock music, but with melody and lush, you know, beautifulness to it. I mean, I think that's what sets them apart from every other band like that is Chino is in his vocals and his lyrics and his delivery. I mean, it just can't be matched, dude. You know, like it's kind of wild, man. It's kind of crazy to think about when I think that I've been listening to this band for over 20 years. You know, like, and it's never changed. They'll always be my favorite bands, you know. And I know, like, a lot of people have full arm tattoos. I don't have any tattoos, full confession. I have 0 tattoos. If I ever were to get a tattoo, it'd probably be a Deftones tattoo, but I'm not going to get the white pony. I'm not going to get the screaming cat. It's going to be something completely obscure that nobody else would get, you know.
That's cool.
I've seen a lot of Deftones tattoos, and like, some of them are cool and done well, but other ones, I'm just kind of like, kind of uneventful, like, you know, kind of unimaginative, like, do something original, you know?
Yeah. A lot of people do the pony, like you said. I see a lot of red and blue flowers. I see a lot of
the self-titled skull is a big one. Yeah,
self-titled skulls. Yeah. But I think that's cool. I think that your approach. I also don't have a Deftones tattoo, and I've got some ideas, but just
I mean,
pull the trigger. Yeah,
my main tattoo, if I were to get it, would be the line from Day That Flew, "Believe the sting proves heart to me." That's my favorite Deftones line ever.
Cool. So you talked a lot about the songs that you've heard live or that you haven't heard live.
Yeah, we should get into some of that.
What are the songs that you? I'm just curious. What are the songs that you want to hear? What are the ones that, other than Ohms, the entire?
Yeah, other than the Ohm songs, as far as songs I want to see that I've never seen, a lot of self-titled songs, because those are the ones they don't play. So, Good Morning Beautiful, Death Blow, Battle Axe, I did see in 2003, but I'd love to see that song again. And Mona. And I mean, there's the other ones. I mean, Anniversary, I'd love to see. Lucky You, they're never going to play live, and I don't care about that song anyway. But no offense to Reka from Tin Fed. I love Tin Fed too, but that song, it's just like, it's one of those filler tracks. It just doesn't, I feel like the album was originally called Lovers. There's a song called Lovers that crushes that song. That should have been in place of Lucky You. That's my opinion.
It does feel like an aberration from it feels like something that's separate from the rest of the album. It
does. And I feel like Lovers would have fit right in. And so my friend Eric made me a copy of Deftones Lovers, where it's everything up on self-titled through Battle Axe, and then at Lucky You it's Lovers, and then it plays Bloody Cape.
That's
so
cool.
It's inserted where Lucky You should have been,
That's dope.
Where it is, or where it would have been. Because I have a feeling that was the song that was cut and Lucky You was put in, or that may have been the original closing track. I don't really know.
So it sounds like maybe the self-titled is your favorite.
No, it's not. Around the Fur is my favorite Deftones. I mean, that's the one that got me into them. That'll always be my favorite. That'll never change, you know. I don't know, man. It's hard to say, because Ohms is pretty fucking good. But I mean, to me, Ohms really comes off to me almost like Around the Fur Part 2. The way it plays through, it's 10 songs. Around the Fur is 10 songs minus Timon, you know.
I've heard that. I've heard other people say that, and I don't know if that's connecting for me.
It's not in any sense of the way the music or anything. It's really just the vibe of the record. What I can tell from listening to Chino's interviews and from listening to the record, he doesn't play guitar very much on this record. which is he didn't play guitar on Around the Fur. That's the reason I make that comparison, is it feels to me like Stefan's back at the core of the songwriting, whereas on White Pony and Forward, or White Pony and After, it's kind of a joint collaboration between Stefan and Chino and Chi at that point, and now it's Sergio in that place. But because a lot of these new songs would not have happened if it weren't for Sergio. He picked up that 5-string bass on Gore, and like that would have never happened, dude. I mean, songs like Hearts Wires, like that song is Chino and Sergio. Stefan had nothing to do with it. He fully admitted it, and I love that song. It's one of my favorite songs they've ever written. So, like when people talk shit on Gore, it has no merit to me because that record's phenomenal. Yes, it's more of a Chino-centric record or a Chino-Sergio-centric record, but those songs are phenomenal, dude. And there's a lot of songs off Gore I want to see live still. I saw on the Gore tours, I guess that I saw Acid Hologram. I saw Let's Meet in Real Life, the song Gore, and Phantom Bride. But I mean, dude, I want to see Hearts Wires. I want to see Patura and Famonte. Rubicon is probably one of my favorite Deftones songs they've ever made. I want to see that song too.
Yeah, I really like that album. Really sounds live.
Their closing tracks tend to be some of my favorite songs. I mean, Fireall is my favorite Adrenaline song, probably, other than maybe Birthmark. MX is one of my favorites. Pink Maggot, Mona. Riviere, which I've also seen live. This is the closing tracks. What Happened to You, is a great song, which I got to see that one too after wanting to see it for a while. Unfortunately, Chino doesn't have those lyric monitors like Nick Hexum from 311, so he kind of fucks up the vocals sometimes, but it just is what it is with Deftones. I fully accept it. The one night we saw them, I want to say it was the 2003 show. Chino started playing Battle Axe, completely fucked it up, stopped, made a big cheesy smile, and then started right over again. And then one night I saw them the next year in 2004, straight out left out a whole verse of Change, dog. Verse of Change. They just left it out. Yeah, dude. I've seen them in some serious, when Chino was seriously hammered, like the show, the Diamond Eye show in Richmond, like I said, he smashed 6 microphones that night. He doesn't do that shit unless he's like really trashed. He's just taking them and swinging them into that metal ramp he has, just, and you hear that through the PA. I'm sure they're never going to be invited back to the National. I'm like, I bet you the down guy fucking hates Chino, dude.
He's like, oh, not again.
Yeah, he literally, I counted them that night, 6 microphones, because I was up on the balcony. Yeah, it was brutal, but they ripped it so hard that night. Day of the Flu, like I said, I had waited 10 years and 9 shows to see that song and saw it, and it was awesome. I mean, I still think it would have been better with Chi, because I love Chi's bass playing in that song specifically, and Sergio plays with the pick. He doesn't play with his fingers. It's a different thing, but there's nobody else that could fill in for Chi, man, so I'm grateful to Sergio. We've gotten now 3 records with him, or 4, right? Shit. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 4. So like sitting here counting the albums in my room. I'm still missing the Ohms poster. I'm like, where the hell is that going to come out, dude? I don't have any room. You can see Gore is like, that's the end of the room over there.
You'll have to hang it from the ceiling.
I'll have to figure out something, because I told my mom when we were doing all these posters, I was like, they all have to be on one level. She was like, you don't think that's going to be too many Deftones? I was like, look around. Every single poster is a Deftones poster. Like literally. There's like a few other bands, but most of them are Deftones. And
I can relate.
The sad part is, Woody, this isn't even half my Deftones poster collection.
Oh, that's sick. That's cool.
Like, the rest are upstairs in a box, dude.
That's what's up.
I have 3 giant, the Subway posters, the big 5 feet.
Oh yeah, those are rad.
I have the Back to School one with the cheerleader girl. I have the Adrenaline era shot where Chino's wearing the red hat and they're sitting on like a curb. And then I have the blue one, that's the blue and yellow promo shot. But I actually had 2 versions of that poster. I had like a small one and the giant size, and then I somehow lost the small version.
Those giant ones are, where do you put them? Yeah, you don't have.
I mean, dude, I have.
Unless you live in.
I have those 3, and then I have a giant Smashing Pumpkins poster that's just as big. And I think those are all. I think I might have one. Oh, I used to have a Rage Against the Machine self-titled Subway poster, but I gave it back to my friend, and then he lost it. Fuck one. I was like, I never should have given that fucking poster back to you. I had it for like, I had it for 10 years in my possession and took care of it. I gave it back to him a week later. He was like, I don't know.
Gone. Don't know.
I was like, yeah, he lost his whole vinyl collection. He lost a signed Deftones Serigraph that I never got because he met them in 2000.
Well, you know who not to give stuff to then for sure.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I'm not giving you shit now. And like, I'm the one who collects. He doesn't collect anything. So.
Well, we've been going for a little while now, so
yeah, I know. I feel like we got to get to some, like, you probably have questions. Like, I'm just sitting here ranting.
No, that's it. That's what the podcast is all about. Is about talking to each other. But we do need to wrap it up. So I'm going to ask you the same question that I ask everybody at the conclusion of this podcast, and that's to offer me some recommendations. And this is based on something that Chino said on a podcast that he only
recommendations. Yeah, I know.
Out links to songs that he likes, but you can recommend anything at all. It doesn't have to be music. It can be art. It can be a book that you like. It can be anything at all. 3 things that you're into. Put me on to something cool.
3 things that I'm into. Well, I'll start with the first one that I actually talked about earlier, Code 7, dude. Well, since I bought tickets for them, they're an amazing band that people should check out. They're not really a band anymore. They were a band 20 years ago, and they're playing some shows now. But check them out. I think they're worthwhile. So that's a band. Trying to think of what else. I just started watching a TV show the other night called The Boys on Amazon, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like it or not. And I'm already in season 2, like a day later. So it's pretty good. And then, a third thing, I would just say go listen to fucking Prince. I mean, Jesus Christ, the guy was a fucking god. I mean, like, I don't know, Chino, I don't know that I would have gone and listened to Prince on my own. I mean, I grew up in that era and I'd heard his songs and stuff, but like Chino and them being like, Prince is our fucking idol is what sent me down the dark pathway of listening to Prince. And I don't know, man, I guess maybe I'm older now. I just have an appreciation for older artists now. Cause like, after they died, I got super into Prince, got super into Bowie, but like, I mean, they're both legends. They have been for years, but for me, it's like, I was almost like a day late, cause it wasn't until after they passed that I really grew the appreciation for their music. But yeah, man, those 2 dudes right there, Prince and Bowie, I think are really as good as it gets when it comes to top tier, like musicianship. And like, that might not be for everybody. I don't love every Prince song or every Bowie song, but just the songwriting and what they brought to music, I mean, it's undeniable,
This man really asked Deftones why they don't play songs off the self-titled. I mean, the audacity. And I have a picture, too. He really got down, like squatted down, so he could look Chino in his eyes. And it does sort of look like Frank's going to cut him, too. But, man, that part about Mary Timony singing the whole song, just fascinating to think about. And what a sweet gesture from Abe. Just all in all, another super fun conversation about Deftones. So thank you, Aaron. I appreciate your time and your passion for our favorite band. It's conversations like this that make me look forward to going to shows, just being around other people that love music. If you want to talk about this episode or any of the others, I would love to hear from you and hear your Deftones stories. I'm at Woodbruh on Twitter and Instagram. I think I'm more fun on Instagram, though. And I'm taking a week off again. See you June 10th, and then we'll get back on the pony. My name is Woody. Thank you for listening to Deftones, and thank you for listening to Change in the House of Pods.